will be recorded for you to have access to after the event. But I will go ahead and throw it over to Miss Elaine Barber.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here and making me not feel like I was talking to an empty room today, which was a little bit of my fear. So I'm so excited. We actually are gonna throw this to a pre-recorded video that I did. I was a little concerned about my internet being wonky, so I wanted to make sure it was as good as possible for you. So that's why I'm here live, but I'm also gonna be pre-recorded. But if you have any questions during the session, feel free to drop them in the chat because I'm gonna be chatting along with you as we go through things, and then certainly would love to take any questions that anyone has when we're done. So without further ado, I guess, Chantel, if you can hit the video.
Sounds good. There it goes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for this session entitled The One Where We Use Event Tech to Prove ROI. I'm Elaine Barber, Principal and Meeting Strategist for Elaine Barber Events, my company. And I'm going to take you on a little trip today to talk about ROI and how you can use event tech to prove that for your organization. So a little bit about me. If one picture is not enough, we've got two today. I am the Principal Meeting Strategist, as I said, for my company, Elaine Barber Events. I worked previously in the hotel industry for Hyatt as a Catering Convention Services Manager, so I understand that industry really well. And then I've also been a nonprofit and a corporate planner. And I'm also a lover of all the boring bits, like event technology, data, and proving ROI. I've always loved numbers, and I especially like using numbers about our events to tell a story about how successful we were. So to get us started today, I want you to think about your most successful event.
Why was it successful? What did it achieve? And what are you?
Chantel, are we having problems with our recording?
I think so. Give me 1 second.
Okay, if not, I can pull up the PowerPoint and just totally wing it. So you let me know.
Okay. Let me see.
Of course, we decide to record it so that we don't have technology problems, and then we come up with technology problems.
I know you all are seeing some gray boxes. Let me just make sure.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's all good. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So Elaine, oh, well, I was going to ask you a question before she gets the video going.
Chantel, do you want me to just pull it up?
Possibly. I can't seem to get rid of the gray boxes for some reason.
Yeah, like one went away, but then we've got one there at the top. Well, what the hell? We'll just wing it together. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint and we'll just have a little fun together here. Hold on 1 second.
Sounds good. Give me one. Let me go ahead and end the share.
Okie dokie. And I'm going to share myself. And let's get this up on the screen. Is everyone seeing my screen now? Yep.
Much better.
All right. Perfect. All right, everyone, then we're just going to do this off the cuff and hopefully we'll have some fun along with it. So I think this is the slide that it cut off on. If you can think about your most successful event, why was it successful? What did you achieve? And what are you basing this assessment on? Was it a sales event that you wanted to generate leads for? Or was it a training event where you wanted people to achieve a certain level of an exam, you know, how did you determine whether it was successful or not? Did they reach that point, or was it more based on what people told you about what they thought of the event? And how do many companies decide if the event was successful? It's 2 words: anecdotal data. So if you haven't used this term before, this is one of my favorites, and I find it to be pretty prevalent in a lot of organizations. And by anecdotal data, basically what I mean is a client comes up to a salesperson and says, that was the best event I ever went to, or that was the worst event I ever went to. And then they come back and tell you, everybody said that was great, or everyone said it sucked. And that's how we make decisions going forward. Or this was the best meal I've ever had at a hotel, and it was fish sticks. And then from that point on, every event has fish sticks as their lunch because that's what everyone said. So my argument is we need to get away from this data that is just based on a couple of people's opinions and actually get to the real stuff. So what is ROI? I'm going to do a little quiz on the screen. You don't have to use the poll, but just kind of think to yourself. Is it Rottweilers of Instagram? I'm sure there is one of those, by the way. Remains of icebergs, return on investment, or response on invitation? Yep, I'm sure you all guessed it because you ended up in this session. It's return on investment. And basically that means we want to get a little, oh yay, I get some hearts on the Rottweilers of Instagram. Whoever that is, I love you. Thank you. We want to make sure that the money or resources that we're putting into something actually is paying off. And that's our return on the investment that we're making. So I'm going to give you some examples of KPIs or goals connected to your ROI. Now, this should really happen that you determine these things in the planning process. Unfortunately, a lot of times we get so involved in the logistics of the planning that we don't think about, well, what do we actually want to achieve? Why are we getting people together? What do we hope that they do after they attend? So as you start thinking about what you want your event to be, that's the perfect time to start talking about these KPIs and goals. So if it's a sales event, the number of leads created. Maybe it's a % increase in attendees who pass an exam or receive accreditation. Last year, you had 70% of the people who passed, and this year you want 80%. Percentage increase in employee engagement. If you're doing a retreat or time for everyone to get together, how did people feel about the company before they came versus after? And increase in attendee satisfaction survey, % increase. So this is basically if you have people who pay to attend and you want that to keep them happy, you want that number to keep going up. So why is proving the ROI important? First of all, it shows that your budget was spent wisely. And by budget, I mean not only the dollars that you spent on your food and beverage and your hotel, but also your time. Your time is valuable. And if it wasn't being spent planning this event, then it would be spent doing something else. So we want to make sure that we're spending that wisely. It shows the importance of our event. Never before has this been more important to our industry in general. We have got to do our very best to prove that we are important and that we're a critical part of the process. So by proving that our events are important and they are having an impact, we are going to make sure that we show our value as planners. And then give credit to the event for being part of the purchase journey. So I spent some time doing CRM marketing, and we talked a lot about the purchase journey. And that is basically everything that goes into that client or customer making that purchase decision. So it's an email from a salesperson, it's a direct mail piece that we send out, but then it's also attending the event and wanting to find out more because they went. So we know proving ROI is important now, or hopefully you believe me now, but how do we prove it? How do we go about showing that we're actually doing it? So my mantra is use event tech to do the heavy lifting. We all have too many things that we need to do. So what I wanted to share with everyone today is how you can use things that you already have to help make this case in a really easy way. You're going to save time. You're going to streamline your processes so you won't have to have so many different processes. And my favorite of all, automation. I love a set it and forget it option, and Event Tech really helps with that. So event technology is not one size fits all. I don't want anyone to think, well, you have to have all of these different programs and platforms. That's not the case. Just like with your event registration, some people use a Google form, some people use Cvent, some people use Visibo or something in between. And so this is a perfect example of how you chose what made sense for your organization, for your budget, and the same applies to what you would use to help prove your ROI. So we'll do like a little Olympic type theme here. The bronze medal in third place for using event technology, our friend, the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, well, it may only be my friend, but I do love a good Excel spreadsheet. Here are the pros. Obviously, it's inexpensive. It's something that we all have. And you can use formats or pivot tables, which if you're not using pivot tables, hit me up and I will help you with this, because this is the easiest way to make yourself look super fancy in Excel, and it takes 2 seconds to learn. So it's really nice to be able to use those, help prove your ROI, and then you can use charts to visually show your results. A lot of times when you start talking about numbers, people's eyes glaze over and they're like, oh gosh, I don't know what you're talking about. So if you can use charts, then you can really visually show those results. So some cons. You have to add data manually from potentially different sources, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in depth. But if you want to prove your increase in attendee satisfaction from year over year, guess what? You got to get the data from last year, add it to the data from this year, and that's how you're going to do it. And information isn't captured with history with attendee information. So what I mean by this is, if I'm in there as Elaine Barber, any information that from previous years are not staying with me as Elaine Barber. They're just sitting out there, oh goodness, sitting out there in a little spreadsheet on your share drive or in your desktop. And it is best used for compiling numeric survey results. Just like I said, if you're just putting in a little formula, need to do a little pivot table, that works perfect for that. Okay, now moving on to our silver medal. Event registration platforms, gotta get a little bouncy in there. Okay, so we've got pros. Integrated registration information with post-event surveys, app engagement, things like that. So if you're using Cvent, this is likely some of the things that you have. You are using like their post-event survey platforms. You maybe are using Crowd Compass or another app to help you with on-site engagement. The nice thing is that those are all part of the platform. And so the information is gonna flow back and forth. So you're really gonna have a good idea of, well, who said this on the survey and who actually went to that session. All of that information stays tied together. It is definitely more automated. We have the ability to keep all that information together and set reports and things that are calculating for us. And like I said, many reports are already created in there, as far as dashboard reports on how many registrations do we have at a certain point. This is actually a report that I've used a lot from different companies that I've been in. If you want to understand where you are on your registration process, you know, 60 days out, 90 days out, you can get reports that are going to calculate that for you, as opposed to saying, well, last year it was in June, now it's in February, I don't really know where I need to be. So those are really great reports. Cons. So systems that have the most data integration within the platform are obviously going to be the most expensive. So if you are using things like Cvent, I do not have to tell you that that Cvent's expensive. You already know this, and you've probably had many conversations about it, but that's why it gets expensive, because you've got a lot more opportunity there. Oops, come back here, my little mouse friend. Oh, Come on. Wonder if there we go. Still isn't integrated with sales data, exam results, things like that. So it's only going to integrate things that are within the system itself. So if you have things that sit outside of it, like Salesforce or other CRMs, that's not included here. And it is best for used for kind of like what I said, situations when all the information is in the same platform, and you want to know, okay, this person said they wanted to learn about this product and attended this session, so you can get that information. Which exhibitors did they visit? This information is hugely helpful in trying to target exhibitors for future years, or find out what types of products people are interested in, and how long they attended those virtual sessions. You can begin to paint a picture of who your attendee is and what they're interested in doing. And now for our gold medal. So integrated tech stack. If you haven't heard this, you're probably going to likely hear it somewhere in the next couple of months, years. People are talking about this a lot. Basically what it means is all of your different MarTech, as they call it, marketing pieces are all together. So it provides that one view of the customer that I mentioned earlier, something that is understanding their journey. How did they become a lead? How did we talk to them? How did we invite them to the event? What did they do after the event? You understand this person as an individual and everything that goes into how they work with your company. And the ability to track the activities which impacted the attendees' purchase, which I mentioned. So it requires collaboration across multiple platforms. So this is what makes it beautiful, also makes it complicated. Because likely the person who manages your CVent platform is not the same person who manages your Salesforce platform. And as a result, you have to collaborate across those platforms. And of course, it can be expensive. You're talking about APIs, which is a fancy word for the way that they electronically connect things together. And a lot of times there's a cost for that. And you need the buy-in for many parties. So this can sometimes be the biggest challenge, especially in a big company, is that you have to get everyone on the Salesforce team to buy in, and everyone maybe in HR if it's employee related. So there's some challenges with that. And it's best for situations where you want to have that full understanding of the attendee customer journey and how every interaction they have with you affects their decision. Kind of what we talked about. Okay, so now you know it's important, hopefully, if you believe me. But how do you convince other stakeholders? So this is kind of a big issue within our world, that you have other people that you have to convince to spend the money or the time. So for me, it's all about the data. You can easily prove what can be gained by using event tech, by just showing these are the numbers that I can provide you. This is the information that's available. You definitely want to have the ability to give some of those details as you're trying to make those decisions. And if you can tell people, you know, I can improve our employee engagement by using this event tech to better, I don't know, customize a session or an activity even that can get people's attention. There we go. Come on. So the time savings that can be gained by manually, not manually having to calculate those results. So if you're spending a lot of time now making those Excel spreadsheets and things like that, time is money, and so you can probably save more than you'll end up spending. And explain how it can help you make better decisions for the future. So for example, I mentioned going after certain types of exhibitors, or you want to do different sessions, or maybe it's a time of year. You always had your conference in the summer, but the numbers have been dwindling. Maybe you want to look at another time. And this can really help you determine that information. Okay, so little wrap up. It's important as event professionals to show our events value. We know that we are critical to the success of our companies. And this is by using our data and our event technology, we can really prove that. Anecdotal data is bad. It's not always bad, but I will say for making decisions about your conference, it's not the best. And proving ROI is critical to the sustainability of our events, which, you know, there's so many discussions right now about events. Are they all going virtual like we are today? Or where does face-to-face value play a role? Your data is critical in showing this, because I think as we all go through these virtual sessions, we love the ability to connect and network virtually, but it's not quite the same as going up and giving that person a hug, or seeing them at the soda break and realizing you both pick up the random soda that no one else wants. Those are the ways like organic connections are made, and face-to-face is the way to make those happen. And lastly, there are many different kinds of event technology that can help prove you that ROI depending on your budget and what your organization is interested in. So don't feel like, hey, I don't have a huge budget, so I can't do this at all. No, you can totally do Excel, and it will get you that first stepping stone that you need. And that's it. I will stop my share here. Chantel, I'll give it back to you. But I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. I know some of them showed up in the chat while I was yakking away. Oh, Morgan Ann, I see you there, and I will be happy to show you that PowerPoint slide again. You said you wanted the bronze. Chantel, can you give me any of those questions while I pull this up for?
Certainly.
There we go.
Marta had a question. She was curious if anyone else was using Certain and would share their opinion of moving forward with them or not. Do you know have any experience with Certain at all?
Certain.
Certain.
That one is not familiar to me. Does anyone else know that one? Oh, maybe Melissa, is that you? Did you?
Yeah. Back in the day, it was Cvent's largest competitor. It's a very similar tool where they're looking at it as a whole event resource. So not only just managing your registration, but also one-on-one meetings, your entire event management. I looked at it years ago. It's very expensive, like Cvent. It's a per reg cost as opposed to a subscription model. So depending on what you need and what you're looking for, sometimes these bigger companies that have been around for a long time that have bought up a lot of other companies are not necessarily the best option. There's a lot more dynamic, integrated tools and intuitive tools that you can use that cost a lot less money these days, my personal opinion.
No, I think that's really good feedback. And you're right, they're popping up everywhere. And, you know, like I haven't used Visibo. People really like that. I feel Splash. Yep. I've heard really good things about Splash as well. So yeah, no, definitely, you know, we were talking about in relation to ROI, but it's really in relation to everything that goes into your event technology. So, for sure, do some research.
Yeah, you have to, I mean, just to follow up on that, you have to do a ton of due diligence, especially right now where tools that did other things are now becoming virtual event platforms. You need to really dig deep into what technology that they're using. For example, a lot of these technologies are using Zoom as their back end. And if you're running an event for a ton of people, like in the thousands, bandwidth issues are an issue. So if they're not using their own tech on the back end, so you need to ask these like really probing questions of all of these tech tools that are now available to make sure that you're going to get everything you need out of it for your event. I mean, that I think, and the other thing is a lot of them are annual subscriptions. So it's a long-term commitment. So, you know, if you make a bad choice, you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be able to buy another one. Your CMO is not going to give you budget to buy another one. So you've got to make sure that you buy the one that's going to work best for you, or you buy a set of tools that are going to work best for you.
Yeah, no, you're so right. And I don't want to take us too far off the topic with this comment, but along with that due diligence and making sure that the platform does what you want, Make sure that the support is what you need on the human side, because I have heard with all of these different ones popping up and the demand being so high that they don't have the customer support or the project management support that is really needed in order for your event to be successful. So definitely look at that as well. Do we have any other questions in there, Chantal?
Another question from Kate. What is your approach to getting clients aligned with what metrics to measure and in advance?
That's a really good question. And of course, Kate would send me a hard one. Thank you, Kate. I would say that, it really needs to be part of that initial discussion, as I mentioned, which is really hard because sometimes they just want to talk about the fun stuff, like what are our spa activities going to be? And they don't want to talk about, how are we going to make sure that everyone, really benefits from that? But to me, it aligns with the purpose and mission of your event, and everyone should have one. And, it doesn't have to be elaborate, but it does have to get to the core of what you're trying to get out of this event. And someone should be able to tell you that. And then maybe you can help lead into the discussion of what specific metrics would help reach that mission. Anything else?
Awesome. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, Kate.
Any other questions?
Oh, yes, and Morgan, I see your question here. Totally would be happy to help you with pivot tables. Send me an email. My email address is elaine@elainebarberevents.com. So any questions about pivot tables or anything else that we talked about, feel free to reach out and I would love to talk to you about it. As I said, I enjoy the boring stuff that most people are like, oh, but I love talking about it. Gets me happy to make things easy that look impressive.
I think it's not the boring stuff, it's underrated stuff. Like if you don't do it ahead, there's no benefit at the end. So yeah, I think it's totally important to be involved in the boring stuff up front.
I'll send you the $50 for that later, Kate.
No, I'm serious. See, Megan agrees, tech is not boring. I totally agree.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Megan.
Oh yeah, Megan. Tech is not boring.
No, yes, it isn't. Well, and you're so right. Planners are scared of tech, but it is the best. And I hate the feeling that people are intimidated about it because I feel like anyone who wants to learn can learn. And back in the day, I think we all thought you can break something. I can erase all my history. Everything will go away. It's super hard to do that. There's lots of fail safes in there now, so you can't actually break anything. So as long as you come in with a spirit of, hey, I want to learn and understand, you can learn at your level, at your pace. And that doesn't mean you have to be like the biggest expert ever, but just take an interest and learn as you go. That's what I usually do, is learn as I go.
Sure, and
Elaine, we have 2 more minutes.
Oh, look I love that backdrop, Megan.
Oh, thanks. It's my apartment view, but it's a picture.
Beautiful.
I was just going to say, I think that that part of what this transition or shift, I'm not using the P word, sorry, to online is part of what's been so scary for a lot of planners, because you're your own tech person. You're your tech support in your home or in your office. And so it can be daunting, but there's resources like yourself and people who will help you along the way.
Absolutely. And you're so right. There's a lot of people that go into like putting these platforms together. It can't just be us on the back end pushing buttons, because we need that support. So don't be afraid to ask, for sure.
Elaine, I got a question.
Yes.
Is there an industry standard time post-event to wait for qualified data from the event? Would it be like 1 month versus 6 months to calculate ROI based on that?
Oh, you know what? You should have a lot of that information pretty quickly, honestly, because if you're using like RFID technology on site that is connecting with your database, then you'll have that really in real time. And then also with like post-event surveys, you know, you should try to do those as soon after the event as you can, so everything's fresh in people's mind. So, you know, as you gather those pieces together, you should be able to get some of that data. And then as far as like sales related data, that's a little bit dependent on what the purchase window is for whatever you're doing, like if you're selling something, because some purchase windows are shorter than others. If it's a big investment, it tends to take longer. So like if you know, featured, you know, a t-shirt or something for some reason, that would be pretty easy. Okay, I can pull the trigger on that in a couple of days or a week. But if it's something that is a huge like investment of software or something, that could take a little bit longer. And usually most companies know kind of what that purchase cycle looks like. Good question, thank you.
Perfect. Well, I think we've hit our mark here.
Yay.
Wonderful job. Thank you so much, Elaine. Thank you for the participants in the room.
Yes, thank you for being here with me today.
Correct. And looks like Elaine is going to head over to Central Park right after this session. So feel free to keep the conversation going in Central Park with Elaine, or you can actually stay for the next session that begins at 12:40 p.m. Central Time. So thank you so much, Elaine.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.